So it's a huge honor to have for our first Future of Luxury podcast, Luc Rochereau with me today. And before we start our discussion, I have to say that when I thought, who do I want to invite for our premiere, the first person, Luc, that came to mind was you. And we both share an immense, I would say, passion and pleasure around the topic of luxury. I remember our very first, I think it was even a Zoom call, the very first time we had a one-on-one call, which was, I think, meant to be kind of 30-minute get to know each other. I think ended up being almost like a 3-hour conversation. And then I also remember, because, these kind of things typically don't really happen, but when they happen, then to me, it's always an indicator that, we were supposed to meet. So Luc and I we met after a masterclass I did on luxury for the Richemont group. And afterwards, Luc messaged me and said, let's have a quick conversation. And so I was preparing, as I said, for this maybe 30-minute call. And I think we talked probably like 3 hours. And after the 3 hours, I think you said, "Oh, we should meet one day. Let me know when you are in Switzerland next time." And I think this was on a Friday, and I was about to actually head to the airport to fly to Switzerland. And then I think 2 or 3 days later, we met in Zurich, continued our conversation. You gave me a bit of an insight into the IWC flagship store on Bahnhofstraße. And then we had a wonderful dinner. And this was basically the start of not just a professional relationship, but really a friendship. And so, again, very, very big welcome to you. And I'm super happy to have you in my podcast today.
Thank you, Daniel. Yes, indeed. It was a good connection on the first time, and it lasted for several minutes. And then the coincidence was that the next day or the next second day you were in Switzerland and in Zurich. So where I'm based at that time, and so we had a very good meeting, and we can have a big exchange on the luxury industry and what was specific about Zurich.
Yeah. And for me, in a moment, maybe go a little bit deeper on describing yourself. But what to me has always been something that fascinated me on your career and also your life is that you're a true citizen of the world. You lived, I think, in so many different places, including Paris, London. You lived in Moscow, in Dubai, and traveled the world. And I think your entire career was in different categories on luxury. Maybe tell us a little bit about your career and how you got where you went today.
With pleasure. Actually, this enter in the luxury world is thanks to my childhood. I had a very international childhood. I was born in Africa. I grew up in the West Indies, in the Caribbean, and in the South Pacific. I learned my English in New Zealand, as well as my cricket, my golf, and to shave a sheep, because you never in life what's going on. But it gave me the taste of international business and to meet everybody, to talk to everybody, to eat every kind of gastronomy, of course, and drinks. And luxury was a natural choice because I have a strong appetite also for artistic design and culture. And I did in 1991 the first dedicated luxury MBA sponsored by Cartier in Paris. I was fortunate to be enrolled in that MBA, and at that time it was the MBA was launched by Cartier. So it was launched by Mr. Alain Dominique Perrin, who was the CEO of Cartier, and Michel Gutten, who was the international chief commercial officer. And I had the chance to meet at that time Mr. Jean-Louis Dumas Hermès, who was the CEO of Hermès at that time. Mr. Pierre Berger was the owner of Yves Saint Laurent. Mr. Louis Racamier was the CEO of Louis Vuitton. It was still a family-owned business. And many also artisans, who explain us the value of craftsmanship in different field of luxury. And then I entered my career in the cosmetics and perfumery industry, I move on fine jewelry, on crystal with the Swarovski group for 4 years. And I travel all around the world, as you say. The fine jewelry, I was traveling 3 weeks per month worldwide in every market to meet distributors, agents, or big retailers. And then after the Swarovski group, I even did some private equity. I joined also after the Richemont Group for 12 years, and my last role was managing director for Europe, Middle East, India, Africa, and LATAM for IWC Schaffhausen, a fantastic horlogerie brand and manufacturer. And recently, I joined a high jewelry brand based in Milan called Marco Valente High Jewelry, and it's a brand that was created in 1953. And we are relaunching the brand on the high jewelry segment around the world. And so I did all my career in luxury goods and different industry in these luxury goods.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And this maybe, leads me to my first question. It's the question that I get, I would say, probably most often. And I'm curious, how you would define it and what your thoughts are. But the first question is, what is luxury for you? What does the term mean? Because it's so overused. Everyone has maybe a different opinion on what it is. So what does it mean for you?
Well, since I started my career, I use always the same definition, and it's always working. For me, luxury is based on 4 pillars, always those 4 pillars. The first one is the exceptional quality of the raw material. So you have to use the best gold that you can find if you're working with gold or leather or elements if you're working in gastronomy. The second pillar is the craftsmanship. So, for example, in horlogerie, you have to get the best watchmakers, the best goldsmiths in fine jewelry, the best cooker, the best chef in gastronomy, for example, or in leather goods. People who will sew the leather, at the perfection, like people from Hermes are doing so well. The third pillar will be a real history, not just a marketing concept, but a real history with strong values for the maison, the manufacturer, the brand. And actually, it can be an old maison or a new one, because you have to remember that every old maison was new at once. So, but you need to have a very, very strong story, and you have to 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 be focused on your stories and your values. And the fourth pillar is an exclusivity, because you're not in mass production. So because you have craftsmanship, you're not in mass production, so you need a certain exclusivity. It's if you're going to mass, then you're competing against the mass market and the volume. So it's, for me, it's not anymore a definition of luxury. You may be premium on your market, but not totally luxury. And all those 4 pillars, they should work together to create what I call an emotional an emotional key to the client that will trigger the willingness to purchase your product or your service. By the way, this definition apply also to luxury of service like hotel industry or hospitality industry.
Yeah, I love this definition, and I love how you kind of summarize it into the idea of the emotional key. Because I think to me, when we think about luxury and creating desirability, it is not a purchase that is purely rational. There can be some rational aspects to it, depending on the product category and so on. But fundamentally, when we buy luxury because we fall in love with a brand. And if we fall in love with a brand, then there has to be an emotional response. So I really like this idea of the emotional key. And I also really like, what you said, that a brand has to have real history. But you used a word that I think is very important when you said, it can be an old history or new history, but that there has to be a story. And maybe let's discuss this a little bit more in detail, because to me, as you know from all our discussions, the brand storytelling is so critical for brands. And this is where I see in reality today many brands struggling, because sometimes they just use history as something like abstract. You know, they say, we have 200 years, or we are from, I don't know, Paris or Milan or London. And so we are now a 200 years old company from London. And I always like to say, this is not enough, because this doesn't give us as a customer really like something tangible, like an emotion for it. So let's discuss a little bit stories. What are kind of interesting stories maybe that in luxury, or how can a brand really create this authentic story?
You know, most of the brands now, maison, they started very small through the creation and the willingness of an artisan. If I'm talking about articles,
Yeah.
I don't like so much the word about products, because products it's something that to consume, and an article is something that will last in your life, or your memory. Very strong. And I prefer to talk about clients and not consumers, because you don't consume luxury. Luxury normally is something that you don't need to live, to even to survive. Uh, it's not something that your life is based on. Um, but it's something that trigger that will tickle your emotions, because like every brand has a DNA, every client has a DNA. So the game is for each brand and each maison to understand the DNA of your client or your prospect, your future client, to know where to pull the emotional, what I call the emotional key between the two DNA. Because if a client is interested only in design and in colors, you don't need to talk to him about the quality of manufacturing and craftsmanship. And so many young sales ambassadors in different boutiques, they are so proud to give the speech of the brand on the maison without knowing who are they talking to and why the client is in your boutique in front of them. So it's very important to touch the emotion of a client, but you have to know in his DNA what is very close from your own DNA. So if the client has different specificities of his DNA, which is common from your own DNA, then it's very easy. You don't have to push too much to be able to have a commercial relationship. But you need to know, it's very important for each brand and each maison, before to address to these clients directly, but to know your clients. So you need a lot of time, and you need to take the time to know your client before to speak to them. And to speak to them, it's to have a conversation. So before, it's the same in life. When you start a conversation with somebody, but you need to know, the more you know the person in front of you, the more your conversation will be um, uh, richer and richer, and then better and better. So it's the same in a commercial relationship, especially on the luxury industry, where at 99% the decision to buy an article or a service of luxury is based on pure emotions, pure emotions. So that's where also emotional intelligence has a strong role to play especially in the exchange between a sales ambassador, for example, and a client.
I remember, Luc, in one of our last discussions, you told me that the difference between a salesperson who is able to unlock this emotional key, or to tap into this emotional key, and a salesperson who doesn't have this ability, is quite dramatic in terms of sales and sales result. So can you elaborate a little bit on your experience there between, let's say, top salespeople and how they do that, and maybe the average salespeople, or someone who is maybe either not trained yet right, or is not able to unlock. So how does unlocking this key work, and what is in your experience the difference between someone that is really excellent in this and someone who is maybe more mediocre?
But the first, I would say the when you want to give a ranking to salespeople, and at every level, by the way, It's when you go to a boutique and you start a conversation with the sales ambassador, and you will see immediately if a sales ambassador propose you, if you go to a watch boutique that I know very well, if he just propose you 2 or 3 watches and just describe you what you can see with your own eyes. So if they say, okay, this is a red dial with a blue strap and with a chronograph, but thank you very much, but I can see it with my own eyes. So there is no emotions that you can pass to your clients. So we know that in the art of selling, the first part, it's the discover phase of your client. You have to know why he's in the boutique, if he knows the brand. So if he knows the brand, yes or no. If he knows the brand, how do you know the brand? Maybe I have 2 watches already. You have a collection. Which watch do you have, etc., etc. Then you can explore. If he doesn't know the brand, you don't know the brand. Do you know that this brand was created by blah blah blah, etc.? You can start the story. And are you here on a visit? I don't know if the boutique is in Dubai. One of the first questions you have to ask if you're in Dubai: for how long are you in Dubai? Are you in Dubai for 1 day or a week? So we have time for the conversation. You have to know this kind of information, but. You have to talk to your client and to ask a lot of questions to know your client. So you have to listen to your client and to ask questions to know where to go and which direction to take. If a lady is coming with a lot of shopping bag, with different brands, but she loves brands, so you will talk about the brand. You will not talk about the complexity of the tourbillon of the watch, etc. If a gentleman is coming and say, "Oh, I visited this museum, this exhibition, it's fantastic. He's very keen on art, design, etc." So you will emphasize this part of your article. You really have to know your client and to trigger the emotion. We exchange a lot. I told you that one of my best experience in life was when I had a dinner with some clients and prospect, and my team told me, "Yeah, Luc, a very important prospect will come. He's CEO of a bank. We had a very fine dinner, gastronomic dinner." And I said, "Okay, I take the challenge. Please, I would like to be sitting near him." And he came in jeans, a polo short sleeves with a plastic watch, and I was supposed to sell him a watch above 100,000 euro, and it was a long night because every question I asked, he was not interested. We were serving a gastronomic dinner. He asked for some Coca-Cola and ketchup with his foie gras. So I was desperate from the beginning. I said to myself, "Oh, it's going to be a very, very long night." And after trying everything, fine wine, fine gastronomy, fine cars, travels, arts, opera, sports, everything, yachting, whatever, there was no interest at all. And I was in a country where there is a tradition at the end of the dinner, when the business is finished, you can talk about personal matters. And I say, "Oh, my son was just born a couple of weeks in the country, so my relationship with the country will be forever." And suddenly I saw sparkles in his eyes. He showed me pictures of all his family, on his iPhone and da da da. And I understand that his only goal in life was his family. The only goal in life. He was working like hell. There was not many free time. And so 2 weeks after, I invite him and his 5 kids to Legoland in Germany. And then 1 week after, I got a fantastic reward because he spent more than $1 million in buying watches for his family and the board of his bank as gifts. And he told me, "Look, you found the only thing that is important for me in life, and this is the key. We have to find the emotion that will sparkle in the eyes of your clients, and for any kind of reason. Every client is very different from one to another."
Yeah, this shows also that, when we think, I use very often the terminology extreme value creation as a proxy to describe luxury. And why I like it is it almost forces you, when you really think about the term, it forces you to think what creates extreme value for a specific person, for a specific human. Because sometimes when we define luxury too much on the object, it's so easy because the object is tangible. If you take the watch, then there is like hours, sometimes weeks, months, years of craftsmanship that goes in producing that. So it's kind of, sweat and tears. And this is what we as humans, it's very kind of tangible and what we are gravitating to. So many, I would say, in sales, as you said, there is the almost natural tendency to want to describe what we already see, as you said. But fundamentally, then we waste the time of people because they can see it with their own eyes. And somehow it's also not that important. This is also, I think, what was to me very important from what you just said. When you said, okay, maybe if someone goes, let's take a watch example, to buy a watch, and for this person it's all about the design, then it doesn't really matter how many complications are there. It's a nice additional information, but it's not going to be what creates this emotional bond. But I love this example that you just gave of your client, where something completely different triggered the emotion. And it was the connection with family, and the connection probably also with seeing you, and I use maybe the word now, but seeing you almost as a friend, because you were able to connect with him, maybe discover something that maybe for the rest of his life, when he went to other brands and to other stores, no one actually connected on that level with him, or maybe showed him the appreciation to what is really important to him. And then he said, okay, this is now where I want to connect. And this is, I think, what is so fascinating to me in luxury, that the human factor is so critical and so important. And we often focus a lot on the product, and you put it in your definition also. You have to have exceptional quality of raw material, you have to have great craftsmanship. So there's, of course, product components, but if this emotional component is not there, then basically all the other things are, I don't want to say they fall apart, but they don't matter so much anymore.
No, totally agree with you. I am totally convinced, and more, by the way, that the technology is coming. We are in a connection business. We are not in a traffic business. So the connection between the client and the brand. So it means it's representative. It can be a sales ambassador. It can be, I don't know, the CEO of the brand. It can be an ambassador, a role model. It can be an actor. It can be a sportsman. It is very important. So we are in a relationship business model. So I think that more and more we go, the more and more AI and the machines are powerful. Sorry, the more and more the human relationship will be important, because
Yeah.
you can be in for a product, for example. You can have the best location for a boutique. You can have the best brand, the biggest marketing spending, everything. If the relationship between a human being and the client is a disaster, everything that you have done, all your investment that you have done as a shareholder is falling apart. Because you have to always remember also that in this human relationship, the part of the service is so important, so important. Huh? I love this quote from Warren Buffett. Huh? If you remember, he bought a tie 10 or 15 years ago. He doesn't even remember the tie or the price of the tie, but he remembered the exquisite quality of service that he received at that time. So the emotion due
100%.
to the service that he received, it's outstanding and will stay. By the way, the service is the emotion that will stay the more longer. So forever. I quote you. I exchanged with you an amazing story that I had a few days ago in Air France. I didn't fly Air France for 7 years for different reasons, and then I flew again last month. I took 2 flights in one day in Europe, and on my seat, and I was not in business, I was in coach. So on my seat, I had a card, Mr. Rochereau, we're very happy to welcome you back, blah, 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 etc., because I had a great card, and I was flying so much at once that I had a great card. And they still have this. So I found this little gesture. I was overwhelmed. I was nobody. The chef de cabine came. I was in coach. They offered me a glass of champagne. Everybody thought I was a superstar. I'm not at all. So, but the the quality of service at that time was fantastic. And of course, I was super touched, and it's something that I will always remember. And I can tell you that I work in very, very different industries. Every time you give that kind of level of service unexpected to your client, is so important. In so many industries, we believe, and it's a big mistake that a lot of companies are doing still now. They believe that the client is a client when he's entered the boutique, and after he left the boutique and he paid and he passed the door. And then after we forgot about the client. We don't know the client before, and sometimes in many industries we know the client before, especially in the hotel industry. We exchange about that. That somebody is doing a booking, so the profile. It's a fantastic luck. The profile of your client who is coming to your hotel, so you can have a touch point, and we're talking about touch point now. So you can have a touch point before your client coming to the hotel, so before the arrival, at the check-in, during the stay, after the stay. So you can enhance and increase the emotional relationship with your client as a level that I can tell you not a lot of people, not a lot of companies are doing at the moment. And this is the where you have to invest some resources and some human capacity, because when you have this kind of relationship, your clients will follow you for forever, for sure.
100%. It's fascinating that you bring up now also hospitality, and we just did a study recently where we could show that when how which word should I use? Maybe how tough it is, so to speak, to build up loyalty, especially in the luxury sector. And I think this also has to do with what you said before, with the emotion, because we may also, as humans, we have to kind of trust that emotion also is repetitive. So in non-luxury purchases or experiences, you actually build loyalty relatively fast. You need just a few interaction points and then people get used to this. But when it comes to luxury, that someone really feels loyal, you need about 20% more effort and more interaction points to bring up someone who is loyal. But now, to lose the loyalty is dramatically faster. It's like about 1.7 interactions that are below expectations, and you lose the person. And I think this is what, to your point, when companies maybe don't emphasize enough on service, where they put themselves under a huge vulnerability, because for the customer, and a service that is underwhelming doesn't mean that it's a bad service, so to speak. It's just on the level. And for example, I just came back 2 days ago from a long flight from Cape Town. So I was 24 hours in the air. It's one very, very long flight, almost 17 hours. And for example, I was in business class on one of the 3 largest American airlines. And I would describe the service as okay. So everything was more or less as expected. They were friendly, they were smiling, there was food. If I wanted to get a drink, then they served me a drink. So fundamentally, I don't have anything to complain. I was not beaten up, so to speak. No one was rude. So I have nothing to complain. But nothing was luxury. Nothing was personalized. Nothing was where I felt an emotion towards me. And I remember, for example, walking on the aisle towards my seat, and then sitting down in my seat. I took my jacket off, and then there was a flight attendant, a little bit further away, and I kind of waved and said, "Okay, can you take care of my jacket?" And then the flight attendant said, "Oh, I can do this after the boarding process is over." And this was for me like one of those moments where they were friendly, they were not unfriendly, but in this moment, it was, when you just want to get settled, you want to maybe get changed, get rid of the jacket. I felt like I'm not important. I have to wait now until everything is over. And I think this is also where maybe to build on what you were saying, what in my observation happens very often in so many so-called luxury experiences, that it's kind of all about the how shall I say, maybe the process that a company puts in place. So in this case, the airline has a process that, okay, let's have first people boarding, and then we take the jackets, and then we serve the drinks. But then you don't get a personalized experience, because maybe for 60% of the travelers or 80% of the travelers, this may be okay, but maybe for 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 other travelers that are in the same area, this is not okay. And in normal experiences, we are okay with averages. But in luxury, I always feel it's always about us.
I totally agree with you. And where these airlines will fail is that other airlines are moving quite rapidly and improving their service. So I would suggest to these people from these airlines, if you can talk to them, go to Asia and see the quality of service that you can have in business class in Asian company, because even on very short flight, you have a full warm meal, very nice. They're taking care of you immediately when you board in the plane. So competition also is very good. And unfortunately, when clients are experiencing, that's why you said earlier that loyalty is very difficult, because when you find when you experience a new quality of service, and then you move to this quality of service, and you don't want to come back to a lower quality. It's I can tell you as I told you, I joined a new high jewelry company called Marco Valente based in Milan, we are very successful at the moment because we bring something new on the market of high jewelry. Because for multi-brand retailers, a lot of high jewelry brand, they left this commercial network to open their own boutique, and so now we are bringing this brand, this high jewelry brand, to the retailers, and we are able also, because we have this mindset, to be very flexible what the final client side, because we are talking about high jewelry. We're not talking about entry price or low or volume bijouterie, but high jewelry. So the art of our market is between 20 and $500,000 for a piece of high jewelry. And 2 weeks ago, I can tell you, I had the experience I was in Qatar, in Doha, and a client wanted the same ring that we had, but with a 3-carat diamond instead of 2.5. And in 48 hours, we were able to show us the rendering, the size with the stone, all the new rendering of the ring, and she was overwhelmed, because normally in the big brand it takes time. Yes, madam, we will send you an email, etc., etc. And for us, we think that if you want to be at that level of high jewelry, of quality, of selling diamonds, it's very important. And also that we see that a lot of new generation, the millennials are, by the way, up to 45 years old now, and the Generation Z, and when they want to buy diamonds, they don't have a lot of knowledge, but they want to have full transparency. They want to have full traceability now, and they can have it with all the social media tools. And so that's why we provide a GIA certificate for every stone below 0.4, and we deliver only the best quality of diamond, meaning only the color DEF with the best cut proportion and polishing. So we really want to go where all the big brands are too big now, too big to give this high quality of service for final clients all over the world.
And here again, I think with the example that you showed, is it's also in the product, of course, but again, it's the service. It's the speed. It's about the convenience. It's about the personalization. It's about to kind of make a step towards the client and not force the client into that. And it's fascinating, because if you look into where brands also invest very often, they often invest, let's say, in, if you take the total P&L of a brand, of course, there's a lot of marketing, but then there's also let's say, the real estate. You know, we spoke about hospitality. You know, how a hotel looks like, the airplane interiors, or maybe in the case of your business in high jewelry, it's the store, the storefront, and so on, that everything looks good. And often there is investments like millions and millions of dollars, and all of this, you know, can mean nothing in the end if the service component is not there, if the emotional key is not unlocked. Then, you know, all the investments there basically are evaporating. So it's so important to you know, I would say, strategize as a company about, you know, how can you deliver this exceptional service, but then also enable the staff on that.
Exactly, I totally agree with you. You know, when the luxury business completely exploded in the last 30 years, in 1991, when I did my MBA, there was no luxury good company listed at any stock exchange in the world. Now, LVMH is the biggest value, but they lost it recently in front of a pharmaceutical company. But in Europe, is the biggest value. At least in France, is the biggest value. Hermes is number 2, by the way, and L'Oréal, which is now considered as a luxury value by the financial guys, because more than 50% of its turnover is done with luxury perfume. Those 3 companies are number 3 at the stock exchange in France. This is unbelievable. And so throughout those years, there were many years where the business was booming. You know, people were queuing to buy luxury goods. So you didn't have to sell. And when crisis happened, that's where you see people were able to sell, or just were distributors. And to sell is a different mindset. You have to be a hunter in a good way, of course, but you have to know, and people and clients are willingness to they are ready to spend a certain budget if they are very interested, and if their emotional key is trigger. And because for some clients, those clients, the crisis is not the same that for middle class people. So and so when you have very, very good salespeople, first of all, you have to identify them, you have to keep them, and you have to motivate them. And I think one of the best motivation, of course, is a visibility, a vision of how you can progress within a company, because you're not going to do the same job of your life, or it depends if they want to stay on the floor and to have this relationship with the clients. You have certain people that are very good at that, and they just want to be just want to stay at that level of relationship with the clients. But you have to be ready to give them a very good package, because those people will bring you the turnover of your company. And I always say to a lot of board people and top management people, those people should be the most rewarded, because they can change your turnover, and so it should be, and it's a variable cost. You just have to have a percentage of your of your of your of your turnover based on the bonuses of those people, and you can give them just the sky as the limit. So it's very important to have for me in a team. I put a scheme very often in team called 1 + 1 = 3. One is an individual target. So the other one is a team target. So a team bonus. And if you fulfill the 2, then your bonus should be 3, not 2. And you need an individual target, because, like in every fantastic team, you have fantastic players, and you just have a few in soccer in Europe. You had one Zinedine Zidane. You didn't have 11 in a team. In basketball, you have one LeBron James. You don't have 5 in a team. So this guy, the star of the team, should have a fantastic reward, because he will bring the whole team to another level also. So it's very important to reward in a team the best players of the team, and to have but the best players of the team also should carry the team at another level. So that's why you should have individual target and team target. And if both are fulfilled, then the bonus should be 3 and not 2. And this is very important to for these people to receive very well packaged. Because for a lot of people, if you say, what do you do? But I'm a sales consultant in a store. It's not very socially, so especially in Europe, it's not very positive. But it should be the opposite. In the luxury brands, those people are key people in the
Mm.
business model of a luxury brand.
Yeah. I remember a conversation with a good friend of mine who runs a very successful hospitality company. And he always tells me that in his point of view, you almost have to reverse the org chart of a company and say the salespeople are on top and everyone else is below. And he always says, I, as the CEO, I'm on the rock bottom, so to speak, because I don't have really the customer contact every day, but the salespeople have, and then also enabling them, empowering them, because a lot of companies speak about empowerment and enabling, but then on the day-to-day, is actually not the case. And the example that you shared before, where you had the client and you were able to find the emotional key, and then you took a decision to invite the person for a family trip to to a theme park. If let's assume, and I think in that role you were already, let's say, leading the team, or the managing director for the region. So naturally you had more decision power. But let's assume now you have someone in the store, and this person now finds an emotional trigger, and let's say during a conversation, and feels this customer could be the $1 million customer. And then in this case, because now they have an interaction, now this person on the store floor takes the decision and invites the person to the theme park. And now goes to the boss and says, I have this post. The person just walked in, in jeans and a plastic watch, what you described. And I think that this person could be an important prospect. So I invited him with his family to a theme park. If you now have if I take now this example, and you now have in the organization a superior that basically criticizes this decision and said, why didn't you speak with me before? Or, are you really sure? And, this is a cost, is seen as a cost. Then I can almost guarantee that in this particular organization, no one ever in the future is going to take the word empowerment serious. And I think this is also something that as an organization, organizations have to work on. Is it's so easy to say we empower our salespeople. It's so easy to say, our salespeople, they have carte blanche, they should do, and so on. Because if then as an organization, the foundation is not there, or there is just one bad apple somewhere that says you should not have done this, then it becomes immediately like a myth within the organization, and people will say, okay, you know what? If they tell you you're empowered, forget, because there was this example that happened 5 years ago and this person was reprimanded. Think twice before you do something. So this is, I think, something that where the role of the leadership within an organization is so critical. And I see this often in service-related industries like hospitality. If you take like a single hotel, in my experience, the quality of service lives and dies with the general manager. Not that the general manager is going to be the person that the guest will see all the time, but if the general manager is truly, is truly caring about the customer, the customer experience, the client experience will be great. And if the general manager, let's say, doesn't care at all, or is not basically all over it, then the client experience will fall apart immediately.
But I totally agree with you. Is the big issue with a very top-down management, which I see a lot of time in many, which I saw a lot of time in many organizations, especially in luxury. People think that at the head office they understood everything about everything. So, but the key is the relationship with the client on the market, in where you are at 5,000 kilometers. When you are from the head office, you don't understand the relationship with your client. It's a different culture, different client. You don't know why your client is in the boutique. You don't understand, and it's it's a key point that you say, especially in the hospitality industry. It shouldn't be a culture coming from one manager, but should be the culture of the whole brand, the whole hotel by itself. And every day, by the way, as a manager, I did some mistakes also in my career, so I learn a lot. Huh? Now I ask a lot to the people who are in contact with the client, what can I do to help you? What and okay, if you have ideas, what are your ideas? Shoot, there is no stupid ideas, because you will be responsible for the ideas and you will manage the contact with the client. So if you have a lot of experience and you telling me that this work, but let's do it, and then we'll see the result. It's not a question of yes, I think it's good or it's not good. You have to respect every ideas, every culture. And I will give you a fantastic story, because I always try to illustrate, principle by stories. I remember a very famous jewelry brand in Tokyo. They hired a new sales guy, and they say, okay, the selling process in our brand is this, this, this. You have to do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, and if you do that, it's good. And the guy said, okay, he went to the training, he said, okay. And then 3 weeks after, the guy sold the most expensive necklace of the boutique that they never sold for 6 years. 6 years they were trying to, in 3 weeks, he sold it. So everybody was astonished. And I remember it was a colleague of mine who was in charge of the Japan market, and he said, "Look, I have to tell you this story because it's a fantastic lesson." And he went to the guy and say, "Okay, what did you do to sell this necklace? Okay, what part of the process of selling, which step was the best in your?" And the guy said, "Well, no, I didn't respect at all the process of selling that you you taught me." And so, but how did you do? But I say, if I want to have a chance to increase really my bonus, I have to sell this necklace. And if I have to sell this necklace, I have to propose it to everybody. Everybody will enter the boutique. And actually, all the team who was respecting the old procedure was doing the opposite, because it was the most expensive one. They thought that 99% of the people who are entering the boutique had no power purchase to buy the necklace. But for him, he was no. He was new in the company, new in that business field. He said, "Yeah, I have nothing to lose." So every time, every request from a client, he say, "Oh, by the way, I show you this necklace, which is the exquisite a resume of the know-how and the culture of our brand and blah, blah, blah." And then one guy in the 3 weeks, I thought he proposed it to 500 people. And one guy say, fantastic, I buy it. And it's a great lesson. Listen to your salespeople, because everybody also has a different style. Maybe you want to have in place a selling process, and of course, you have to have the discovery phase. You need to know your client. You need that, but you have to be open-minded to new ideas, and why not? And this is a fantastic story.
Yeah, and I think here it's also a great story where, again, the emotional key comes out. Because if you, for example, I had recently a discussion during a training that I did on how to sell luxury, and within that organization, or within that that framework where this organization operated, so they were basically also in multi-brand stores, and in these multi-brand stores there were different level of prices. So they had typically in this kind of environment there would be even some items or some brands that would not be considered luxury. So let's say entry level items, and you had mid-level items, and then you had one or two brands at the extreme if you take price points. So what was the typical way how a salesperson would approach that? Because now the salesperson gets all the traffic in the store, and they somehow, maybe also with sometimes not the right incentives, basically was saying, okay, I make now a quick sale. So what did they do? People walked in the store, and then they asked them, what is your budget? And I always like to say this is the killer question of all questions, because it's the Excel sheet question, so to speak, because when someone says, what is your budget? You immediately go from emotion to rational. And then the other thing you do is you put a number in your head. And if you put a number in your head, this number is now your baseline. Every decision you will do afterwards, internally, you will compare with the number. So if you walk in the store and, let's say I want to buy a watch, and the person asks me, how much do you want to spend on a watch today? I say, let's say $3,000, then good luck selling me a $30,000 watch if basically I primed myself now into that category. But I think in the moment when someone, as you just said, comes in and there is, he shows him the necklace and then shows another person and look, this is the brand. For some person, suddenly it will trigger an emotion and a desirability to buy. I love the example. I think it's so powerful to see that when I think it shows mindset. If we basically convince ourselves that a specific product is only for a specific clientele, we already approach the world almost with a negativity and always think, if we say it's for the top 1%, then we always say, okay, the likelihood that the next person comes in and wants that is zero, so we don't even make an effort. While if we program ourselves to say, let's inspire, let's inspire, then we get to a different result.
Yeah, totally right. I can give you another example that happened not so long ago in a fine jewelry store. It's one of our clients, and we received a very nice order from this store, and we were very amazed. So we asked the retailer, "Can you tell us a little bit about the story?" He said, "Yeah, it's a very funny story because a gentleman came, and we had a good relationship, a good exchange. We showed him a very nice bracelet. We understood it was for his daughter, so for birthday. So there was we didn't talk about budget, etc. They said they showed different bracelet, and the guy has chosen one of our bracelets. So the sales ambassador was very happy. He said, "Okay, can I?" This bracelet, can I prepare a gift box, etc. And the client say, yes, but I want two more. So the sales ambassador was a little bit surprised. He said, "Yeah, I want three of the same bracelets. I told you it was for my daughters." And he didn't understand the S of daughters. He just understood daughter. And actually, it was a gift for each of his daughter. So the sale was 3 bracelets instead of one. And when you have a bracelet of $100,000, so it's a nice sellout. And actually, another also example of what you mentioned is when you have multi-brand stores or multi-brand store, when you have different level, you have to go to ground floor, first floor, second floor. A lot of time, retailers, they put their big brands on the ground floor, and then they put on first floor and second floor what is not really a top priority. And of course, 99% of the time, the sales ambassador on the ground floor, they will never put some efforts to bring your client to the first floor or your second floor. And for me, it's a big mistake because you are renting a space with 3 floors, and basically you base your business on 1 floor. And you could have a fantastic business if you're spreading your top brands on 3 floors, especially the top one, you could put it on the 3rd floor, people will go. You know that in the supermarket business, if you put water at the end of your supermarket, people will cross the whole supermarket to buy the water. So the same in the luxury. If you put top brands on the 3rd floor, people will go, and then you will give them a chance to see also the other brands and the rest of your business, because otherwise you just do distribution of big brands on the ground floor, and then the rest it's a big loss for your P&L.
It's a wonderful example, and Luc reminds me just of something that happened to me a few weeks ago. So I was in Hong Kong, and the trolley that I had broke. It was a bit of a sad story, so to speak, because it was a trolley that I was really in love with. Also a beautiful luxury trolley, but probably after 6-7 years of heavy use in thousands of flights, there was the time to say goodbye. And then I went, in this case, to a Louis Vuitton store, and I thought to buy I don't even want to call it a basic, but they're beautiful canvas horizon trolley, and I was just going to the store to see which color combination should I get. And then while I was in the store and they were about to hot stamp my initials in the in the name tag, and said, okay, just browse around a little bit. And then I was walking around, and then I said, well, wait a minute. And then I saw the same trolley, but in a limited edition, the first collection of Farrell, and it was just gorgeous beyond imagination. And so I ran back and said, stop the hot stamping process. And it was just like last second. I said, okay, we cancel this. I get the other one. And of course, you can imagine the other one was significantly more expensive. But in this moment, my emotional trigger was activated, so to speak, and where before I thought it was more like a bit of a more rational, I don't want to say rational purchase, but it was like I needed a trolley, and so I thought a little bit more practical. But the moment I saw the other one, and I thought this is what I really want, and then I don't want to say the price doesn't play a role anymore, but in this case it's much more the desirability of. And maybe I would say even the artistry of this. And then you also understand that, it's the first collection, so that there will never be another first collection. Then you also start to understand that it's extremely limited. And you also know if I don't, and in the store they told me that they only had one that they got for Hong Kong. And then I thought, okay, then maybe they had one or two in mainland China, and then maybe another few in the US. So I also understood that if I don't make this purchase now, even maybe wait another day or another hour, then probably it's gone forever. And so suddenly and it goes back to also what you said before, the exclusivity. And that it's basically also marking an interesting moment of time. And then also I was on this trip to Hong Kong, and then also thought, okay, it will always be a memory to buy it exactly in the store. So there were so many kind of stories that were overlapping, and suddenly my willingness to pay from a price point basically doubled in that moment. And I think this is again a great lesson on, that the value is often somewhere completely different, and also often unexpected from a customer perspective. And we bring again the idea of surprise and emotionally inspiring people.
Exactly, it's what we say. It's purely emotional. It's not rational at all, because you pay maybe 4 or 5 times the price of the first trolley, but now your emotion, your emotion level is at the top, and you will remember that. And this is what luxury should be about: is to have this special moment in life that you find something is which is just for you. You're falling in love for different kind of reason, and this is fantastic. And you found it because you move it yourself in the boutiques. They didn't propose you. So it's always also something that I like to do when I drive on holiday. I like to take small roads instead of
Mm.
motorways, because I love, of course, I'm French, so I love my gastronomy. So I love to discover, a new restaurant. I do a step even with my kids. My kids are very young, but they love to eat oysters, foie gras. And they love to discover the real food with quality. And I have numerous example on going on a small road, stopping, not knowing very well the restaurant, just see one or two review, and getting an amazing surprise in Dordogne, for example, the country of black truffle in France. We stopped with my wife on the road, and she jumped off the car. It was the end of the service, but they accepted to serve us, and we had a fantastic 4-course meal in a one-star Michelin restaurant for below 100 euro per person, with a glass of wine for each meal. So we had to we had to be careful on the driving after, but it was a fantastic experience. And then on top, which was even it also triggered my emotion, because I discovered fantastic white wine, and I asked the restaurateur, oh, I love this wine, it's fantastic, I didn't know, can I buy you a bottle? I will be very pleased and honored. He said, yeah, with no problem. So I thought, when the bill arrived, I said, okay, you're going to charge me. It's normal, but it was okay. It was the holidays. I had a very nice moment with my wife, and I discovered this wine, which was fantastic. And he just charged me the cost price of the restaurant. I was completely shocked. He came to me, said, sorry, I wanted to give you 3 bottles, but I have only 2 left. So in my cellar, I give you one. And he did charge me just the cost of the bottle for the restaurant. So, sorry. So now my emotion with this restaurant and this region is triggered for forever. And this is all what we are looking about in life, is to have emotion. So you have emotions with family moments, with culture, cinema, singing, museum arts, and luxury should look for this emotional key also for their clients. And they have a lot of opportunities. And I think it's fantastic for you as a consultant to help them, because I can tell you, you have an open field to help a lot of companies, because they can improve much more to get connected with this with their clients on their emotional level, and at every moment of the process of before welcoming them, during the transaction, after the transaction, because of course you want to have loyal clients, and when you hook them, you want them to come back. So how to make them coming back, but it's to entertain the conversation like with a friend or a family. You have a house, you have to invite them, you have to take care about them. And not only, you did purchase this last year, but you didn't purchase that, so your level of VIP is going down. And this is what happened to one of my friend 2 months ago. He didn't buy a watch for 3 years, so now he's not considered anymore as a VIP. And in the past he was buying a lot of watches to a very nice brand. And this is a pity, because in a lot of companies, CRM is managed now by Excel sheet and by cohorts. So they want to give priority only on the people who bought the year before, 6 months before, the year before, and 2 years before, and you forgot about the history about your clients. And it's often the history about your clients is often known by your sales ambassador, much more than your database tools linked to AI or internet.
And I think you said something with this example that is so critical. It's about the relationship. And if I think, for example, now if I take the example of the trolley purchase, why didn't I buy another trolley before? It was not that I could not afford buying another trolley. It's just I loved the trolley that I had before so much that there was no reason for me to exchange it. There were so many memories that were connected with so many flights, so many trips, and so on. So it would have been something that and maybe I would never have replaced this trolley if the trolley would not have broken. But for the company that was the manufacturer of my first trolley, and they will never know it, I was probably one of their best sales ambassadors, because you can imagine almost any important meeting that I had, because I often come from the airport into the meeting room, I was rolling in with that trolley. And people said, wow, this thing looks so cool, and so on. So I probably sold for that other brand, probably 30, 40, 50 trolleys, so to speak, without me being the person, because I don't need a second one. But I was always so, it made me always proud when people said, oh, this is so cool. And I think this is what also brands underestimate when they, as you just say, when they look at the short term, what is happening right now. Or, you mentioned your examples in Air France, that you were not flying them very often. And I think also probably because maybe just the geography where you were living. So most likely this is the case. And, I have examples myself where, when, as you know, I lived in Japan for many years, then I lived in Europe, then in the US. So, of course, you change preferences, for example, on the airline not because you don't like the airline, but sometimes it's convenient, or the airline is not flying to that often to the place where you live right now. That doesn't mean that anything changed emotionally to that airline. You would probably be willing to reactivate immediately when it's convenient. But if now, after you gave, let's take an airline example, you gave maybe the airline for many, many years loyalty. So take your Air France example. Now you don't fly with them. And if you had come back and they had downgraded you and didn't take you any more serious, so to speak, as a client, then maybe you would not have any motivation to come back. But instead, they write a nice handwritten note. They say, "Welcome back after all these years." They greet you again. They take you back into the family. Now the loyalty that you already had before is going to go significantly up. While in most cases in today's world, the brand actually will do exactly the opposite. Will try to kind of downgrade you. And then what happens emotionally? Because as we spoke about emotion. If I'm VIP for 5 years, and now the brand says, Luc or Daniel, you guys are not VIPs anymore. How does it feel? It's going to hurt our emotions. And then, of course, why would we be loyal to a brand that does this? This is, I think, also where in luxury and in hospitality, of course, it's huge. And it's not only in hospitality. Also many retailers have loyalty programs. Malls have loyalty programs where they give very special treatments to their top customers. But opportunity and risk are so close here. And I would actually want to see one day a study to show how many top customers brands actually lost because of ill-designed loyalty programs and as you said, loyalty programs maybe even managed in different departments. You have the person who has the emotional connection, if the brand has that, to the top client, but then you have maybe a second department that manages the loyalty program, and they are disconnected, and then one doesn't know what the other is doing, and then you create like complete chaos.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this story, but in Cartier, the brand Cartier, they have a VIP a sales ambassador dedicated to they are called grand vendeurs. So it means they're not attached to a boutique. They follow their clients, all over the world. And one of the best grand vendeurs of Cartier, even he was the best now, I think he's retired, was a normal guy who was working originally at the after sales repair service in the back, in the back of the boutique of Cartier, Place Vendôme, and a long time ago. And then once he received a client who came, I don't remember if it was for a pen or a lighter, it was not working. And on the on the noble floor with the salespeople, they say, no, you have to go. So they didn't understand who was the client, and she just had a repair to do. And so she didn't want to buy anything, so it was not interesting, for the salespeople. And so she sent her to the back of the boutique, really at the back, and the poor guy, was doing the after sales service, and he gave an exceptional service to the lady, and then the lady came back I don't know, a little bit after for the same thing, another after sales service, I don't know, and the service she received from this guy was outstanding. So then she came back in the boutique another time now to buy. And she said, no, but guys, I want only to be served by this guy. And she was one of the top princess of Middle East. I don't know if it was a sheikha of Qatar or Kuwait, I don't remember. But she spent a fortune. But this is the guy she wanted to be served. And this guy became one of the grand vendeurs of Cartier because he gave exceptional service to a lady that normally she was not coming to. She was not identified as a top buyer or whatever by the people. And this is also a big mistake that a lot of people are doing in sales organization. A client is a client, and you have to take care about this client, whatever they are coming from, for information, for maybe sometimes just to use your bathroom, you should be
Mm.
you should give the service. You have to give the level of service that a luxury brand should give. That you don't have to think that should I do it? You have to give the luxury service that the luxury brand should give. Otherwise, you're going to the post office or a supermarket or whatever. It will get the same. So if you're not able to give a luxury service, uh, you will lose a lot of clients.
This example also to me shows that, empathy, and even, I use the word now on purpose, being humble as a brand and as a salesperson is so important. And I feel very often, when I audit experiences or when I go myself to a store or restaurant or hotel, it's so often that I feel like the people on the other side, so to speak, that they, sometimes are a bit arrogant because they believe now their brand is fantastic. And so you almost come sometimes from a pedestal, and then as a client, you come in and you feel, or they try to almost make you feel inferior. And I think this is also so critical what you said, this approach. And I think this Grand Vendeur example really shows how powerful it is to be humble and to take the human and to respect the human, but also to not have an agenda, so to speak. So if the agenda was, okay, we only service this person if they sell, if they buy something, then it's almost a bit like what we just discussed on the loyalty programs. It feels not authentic. It feels very transactional. And luxury, we don't like transactions. We like to be, we like emotional things, that these emotional things then lead to a transaction. But while in mass market, transactions are normal because the product doesn't give us a lot of emotion, so it's all about efficiency and so on. Luxury, it's about if the transaction comes automatically if the emotion is first. So we have to basically look into the emotional triggers. So, but I wanted to ask you maybe two more things. The first is, now in your current role, as you took over the role, what do you see now, also with your experience that you bring from all the other assignments that you had during your life? What are for you now the kind of key priorities to take your brand from where it is today to maybe even a different level of luxury and luxury experiences?
So we have two key challenges. Sorry, the first key is to really find the retailers that understand our business model, because now a lot of multi-brand retailers, they only sell they're used to brand wash to sell watch brand, and they are only distributors. What depends of the popularity of the desirability of one watch brand or another, and then clients are coming and they say, okay, I want the red or the blue, and no, you have to wait, you have to be on the waiting list, etc., etc. And what we see that because all the high jewelry maison left this network, now they have some jewelry, but what they do, they say, okay, my client is buying a 10,000 watch, a $10,000 watch. Maybe I will present him a 3,000 jewelry, because then he can buy immediately for his wife or his fiancée, as a gift. Not to be so guilty to buy a $10,000 watch, etc. Instead of thinking, if he has the purchase power to buy a $10,000 watch, he has the purchase power to buy a $10,000 gift for his wife or his fiancée. And we see a lot of retailers who have a sales team who are they don't want to make a little effort, but the opportunity of business is really there, especially with the offer that we give, with outstanding quality of diamonds and craftsmanship from Italy. So the second challenge is that we need to support our growth. We are very successful. We have very good sellout figures with our partners at the moment. And to support our growth, we decided to invest, and we bought the latest and the oldest jewelry manufacturer in Milan, based in Milan, because in Italy, most of the manufacturers are in Valenza. It's a an hour and a 15-minute drive from Milan. But we bought the oldest manufacturer of Milan inside Milan, and we will enlarge this manufacturer, and we will also link this manufacturer to a jewelry school to be able to guarantee to maintain this level and this tradition of craftsmanship at the highest level, starting from the youngest age, from a goldsmith. And because the Milanese tradition and the Milanese style is very specific, is very centered around the stone, the diamond, not so much about the mounting and the gold around. Because we want to, our aim is to enhance the diamond and the refraction of the light of the diamond. So this is the centerpiece of every piece of jewel, a necklace, a bracelet, a nice ring, or a pair of earring, and we want to have that level of excellence. So we want to have our own manufacturer. We are having our own manufacturer. We're going to link to a school, and then we can support the growth and to supply the highest quality of diamond jewelry, because we are only focused on diamonds. We don't do semi-precious stone. We do only diamonds, high jewelry. And this is our two key challenge. So to find the right partner who really understand our business model and who understand that there is a market opportunity to reach some wealthy client. Our actual partners who are, for example, Bucher in Europe, and we are going to expand the network, or Arige in Paris, and other that will come soon, because we're in the process to sign new contracts. We want to support also this growth by investing and to guarantee the level of know-how and the level of exquisite quality of the craftsmanship with the best raw material that we can provide for this jewelry.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So it's basically a challenge that is about bringing the artistry that you're already creating to another level, but also to enhance as we also discussed during the podcast today, the level of service, the level of personalization to the customers.
Exactly. We like to say that we are the Italian tailor of high jewelry. It means that we can provide also. Of course, we have collection that we propose to our business partner, but we can provide also a tailor-made approach of high jewelry. And we have several requests from clients. They want to have their one-of-a-kind piece, unique piece, and we do that. We sit with them, we design them, and we do it only for them, and with the highest quality of diamond that we can find on the market. And this is really important. We welcome them, even if they can come to Milan in our own showroom near the Duomo. It's a very nice a place that, of course, you will be the most welcome on your next visit to Milan. And
wonderful.
And I encourage any of your listener to visit us in Milan if they want to see our showroom and our collection, or to go to our website, Marco Valente, iJewelry.com, or our Instagram account equally.
Wonderful. And we will put the links to your brand and also how to contact you. We'll put them in the show notes. So, and as Luc said, all of you who watch this and want to get in touch, want to learn more about the brand, then feel free to reach out. And then Luc, maybe last question for me is, where do you see the future of luxury? Where do you see the industry heading? Where do you see trends? And what do you think will be for managers of luxury that are listening now to this podcast? What will be critical success factors to lead the change that we are all experiencing?
The critical factor, is the human relationship. So the human relationship that you have with your client, because as we said earlier, this is the key factor of success. You can fall in love with a brand for the design, for the articles, the products. If the relationship is a disaster, it's killing everything. So if you can imagine, if you are the owner of a brand or the shareholder of a group, you invest a lot of money to hire super high designers. You open the best boutique in the world in the best location, but the human relationship with the client is a disaster. But your investment are worth nothing at the end of the day. So you're losing everything. So the more and more it will become automatic with CRM management tools through AI or other system, the more and more the human relationship will be a key factor of success. So you need to invest in this human relationship with everybody from your team, by the way, not only the front people who are talking to your clients, but the back office people who are normally here to support them. By the way, I like what you said about to reverse the org chart and to put the CEO at the bottom. It's exactly what we should do. We are the support team for the front people in connection with the clients, but you have also to know about the client. So first, it should be compulsory for everybody from the back office to go in the boutique and to have a retail experience, because we are in the retail business model. Retail business model. We are not, even if you do B2B, at the end of the day, you sell to a final client. So you need to know about retail. In most of the case in business school, people have forgotten that retail is retail. You have to be in a boutique and to talk to clients. This is really important, and that your relationship with the client can make a huge difference. You can increase, uh, uh, I always say that a very good sales ambassador can do plus 20, plus 30%, and a very bad can do minus 20, minus 30. So the gap between two sales ambassadors is 60%. This is a killing. This is a killing effect on your retail business model. If you have this gap between two salespeople, plus 30, minus 30, it's a financial disaster at the end of the day. So you have to have the best ambassadors, and so for me the future, the absolute future, is the human relationship between the brand and the clients.
Wonderful. And I think this is a great kind of circle that we were going from since the beginning of our conversation. You know, I remember when I asked you the question, what is luxury? You spoke about the exceptional quality of the materials, the craftsmanship, the real history and the exclusivity. But then you said all of this has to translate into the emotional key of the client. And then we discussed, I think, in the 1.5 hours of our conversation, all kind of aspects of it, you know, from the DNA of the brand that has to match the client DNA. So we have also here, again, the human factor. Or, you know, you mentioned that very often in our reality today, salespeople describe what is the obvious, but then they maybe forget the human experience. You know, we also said, I love what you said, for example, in incentive system, 1 + 1 is 3. Because again, the human factor that you bring in is so valuable, and is maybe, I don't want to say more valuable, but at least as valuable as all the other aspects in the entire customer experience. You know, and then we spoke about the now in your summary, or in where you see the future is heading, that the human relationship becomes really the mission critical. And I totally agree with you. I think that in the world in which we're heading in, there's not so much, let's say, we know for sure what's going to be in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years. No one has the crystal ball. But I would, if we basically say that the past is a bit of a predictor of the future, we can probably assume that our world is going to be more interconnected digitally. We will probably not use dramatically less social networks, but probably more. And we will have a much more integrated life between the digital and the physical. And this means that the pure physical experiences will probably be less than what we have today. So if our world becomes more digital, almost automatically, there's less and less space for physical experiences, which also means that the physical experiences, when we experience them, become so much more valuable because they become almost exclusive. And I think this is, to me, where also today a lot of brands are failing already, and then maybe even we're going to be failing more in the future, is that if they provide today only a mediocre experience, then they're already kind of wasting the time of the customers. And also I wanted to kind of go to one of the things you said before, that once we experience something much better, we don't want to go back. And I think what also a lot of companies underestimate is the individual human has all kind of experiences in different categories. So let's say, and if I take for example, let's say we would be in automotive, then almost naturally, what we would do is we would benchmark ourselves with our competitors in automotive, and we would look into, what is brand A doing, B doing, C doing, and we would make sure that we are at least on par with them. But I always warn my clients across the different categories and say, this is not enough anymore in the world today, because if they buy a piece of jewelry, or they go to a fancy restaurant, or have a lot of other experiences, now they will compare the experience in that particular category with all other experiences. And if then the brand in a particular category, or the brands as a collective in that category, fall behind because in that category is maybe a little bit more traditional, suddenly you can get irrelevant as an entire category. So I think my feeling is also, just want also to maybe get your feel on that, is since the change is accelerating so much, and it looks like things are changing faster and faster. And even if you see adaptation rates at key technologies, you mentioned AI, it's the fastest adapted technology ever in human history. And if you think about generative AI, it's not so long that we saw the first applications, and now every company is trying to see how can they apply it. So we can assume that these kind of changes are going to be even more steep, more drastic, and faster. And I think here, as you said, the human relationship is critical. But what do you feel like in this faster acceleration of change? Anything else that companies have to focus on to kind of lead this change?
By training, for me, is a key factor. You have to train again, to train and again. I think the hospitality industry is quite good at that, training people. They do that. You just have to be careful not to train them on the same mistakes always, because it's like when I receive a resume and people are saying, yeah, 15 years of experience in this field. I say, yeah, but I don't know the quality of your experience. So no offense, but I'm going to check that first. It's the same. Training, you have to, it's like sport. If you want to be the best, you have to train, you have to always. So never stop training to perform. Second, I think you have to be open also to creativity with your team. We talk about empower people. You have to be open to creativity from your team, because more and more now, luxury maison belongs to big corporate group, and it's coming with management process, top-down approach. You have to do this to be successful, etc., etc. And there is no more room for creativity from everybody at each level, from the team, and we have to be open mind, and you have to respect sometimes the style. Sometimes the style of salespeople are different than the stereotype that you were thinking of, and they are successful. I love that financial proverb which says the market is always right. So if the client is buying, the client is buying. The style of the sales ambassador, if they respect the guidelines of the brand, has to be respected also. It's like if you go for me a fine gastronomic restaurant, always the killer question for me at the end is, do you want a dessert? I mean, guys, you are in a business model. Everybody around the table, of course, will say no, because everybody's taking care about, his health, and they say, okay, it's the evening. We don't. Yeah, now you are asked not to eat sugar anymore in the evening, etc., etc. So, of course, everybody will say no. But if you come and you say, oh, today we have a very special dessert made of blah blah blah. It's coming with this special chocolate that coming from Ivory Coast. It was roasted at a certain temperature. It's an exquisite. It's one of a kind. There is always one guy or a lady around the table who will say yes, and then if you have one yes, then you will have two, three. Then a lady will say yes, and all the ladies will say yes also, and then it's plus 30% or 25% of the bill of turnover. It's why also if you go to really, really high level gastronomic restaurant, they bring you a chariot of dessert because you see all of them and you cannot resist. It's the same with the cheese chariot, from the three-star Michelin. You always ask why they're coming with everything. Because if they put the chariot in front of you, you cannot resist. It's the same. So it's very good. So when in a restaurant, the waiter is coming and ask, does everybody want a dessert? It's a disaster for the restaurant. So in the human relationship, you have always also to train them in the right way, and the training should be focused on emotions, how to pass a passion, how to pass the passion, and how to trigger emotion. At each step of the relationship with your client is how you can trigger the emotion. This should be the main target, the main goal of a training. The goal is not to say you have to sell 20% more, 25% more to sell. It's how you can trigger the emotion. If you do that, your client will follow you and then will be loyal to you, because then you will be able to sell much more than an article. You will sell the level of service, and they are expecting that level of service, and then they will say, wow. And on top of that, the good word of mouth will be a fantastic advertising for the company. And by the way, that the opposite is worse. And when you have a bad negative word of mouth, this is a killer. Huh? So to regain it, it's a nightmare. But everybody, if you ask around you, everybody complain about their dentist, but everybody knows a good one. Yeah. Because everybody likes to say to somebody else that they know somebody who is good, or that human being love to do that. I know this, I know this, I know this. And the best business model, by the way, to sell is to have what I call the luxury Tupperware strategy, is to have a small gathering with client and prospect, because your client will sell instead of you. You don't have to sell, your clients will sell for you. So I think because the clients, they know they will pass their emotions and their passions to others much more than selling people. So I think it's of course the key factor of success in training will be how to trigger emotions.
Wonderful. And then this, I think, is an amazing closing for our first podcast. First of all, thank you, Luc, for, I think we said we probably chat for an hour, and I think we are now probably almost about 1 hour 45 or so. But, and I'm pretty sure if we would not look at the watch, we could talk forever and go deeper and deeper in this direction. But what I really loved about our conversation was that, we can really see that fundamentally when we create luxury, we have to create something very human, something very, that is basically ingrained in passion. So passion, emotion, and this human factor, being empathetic also to the other side is great. And what I love this is that there's so many misconceptions about luxury, and about the sometimes arrogant behavior and so. But we see fundamentally it's very down to earth. It's trying to understand another person and then trying to inspire them give them something that they truly love, that they fall in love for, and then nurture that relationship that builds. And I think the companies that can do this and the individuals that can do this right, and then, if you take a company level, when you can do this at scale, then I don't think that there's anything that can stop them. And very often when we see brands that are underperforming, then there's the passion is missing, the human factor is missing, the sales process is often broken, the stories are not really told well, and so on. It always kind of goes back to the same root cause. So I thought it was a fascinating discussion. As always, when we talk about luxuries, there's so many things that I'm taking myself as a learning from your rich background and your experiences that you had. I thought the examples that you shared were incredible. And I wish you best of luck for, in your new role with your company. And as we said in the show notes, we're going to share the contacts and so on, and take on Luc's invitation to Milan. And I can wait. I will surely be this year in Milan at least once or twice. So next time I'm there, I'll let you know, and then I will experience your brand yourself. And until then, thank you so much for coming, and it was really a true pleasure.
Thank you, Daniel. I wish you a very nice end of the day, and I look forward to receiving you and to welcoming you in Milan to have a proper Milanese experience.
Wonderful. Super. Thank you so much.